Yep. Right.
All right. Okay, so tēnā koutou katoa everyone. So welcome to the Waimāero Fendalton-Waimairi-Harewood Community Board for the first one of the year on Monday, the 12th of February, and we are opening at 4:33 p.m. To start, we'll all stand for the karakia, which we have up there like to join us.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā, kia kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tae, e he ake ana te tātakuka, he tio he ruka, he hauhunga, tihei mai ora.
So to begin with item 1, we have apologies and we have none received. We did have one refresh. Here's an apology. Do we have Sam for? Oh, excellent, great. So I just want to acknowledge it's not an apology, but we have 2 board members who are on Zoom as well. So could we please have a move and a seconder? Thank you, James, and David to second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. All right. So that takes us to item number 2, declarations of interest, which there were none, which brings us to confirmation of the previous minutes for item 3. Is there someone who would like to move? Thank you, Aaron. Aaron to move and Jason to second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. Okay, so then item number 4, public forum. So we have a few public forums to get through today. The first one we have is Charlotte Gavin. Kia ora, Charlotte. If you'd like to come to the table. So with public forum, it's 5 minutes and that includes questions as well. We're not in a position to make any decisions around the table, but we'd love to hear what you have to say. So yeah, please feel free to take a seat at the end of the table.
So firstly, for the benefit of those online and listening in, who we don't get to see face to face today, this particular topic regarding speeding and spin-outs has a very passionate response from a certain element of our community who like this type of car enthusiast sport. By no means am I targeting that group of people in per se or may having any prejudice against them. I'm simply trying to address the illegal element of these people that are using council property to terrorise our neighbourhood. Okay, so and that's the biggest thing that we have in our community, and after talking to several members, they are terrified to say anything. And so by speaking out, I actually believe that we're making it worse. We're now being targeted specifically. 4 car windows were bashed in on Saturday night around the neighbourhood, and of course the more spin outs in this particular location, just as we're still here, despite the fact that they're trolling our Belfast community site, and they know I'm not happy and we're getting something done about it. So since I've produced a paper, which we can briefly discuss, but just to get you up to date, I've spoken with Andrew Hensley from Traffic Control, which was still digesting a few action plans, and I will be meeting with him and the police to make a coordinated police effort to see what we can do there. That police effort specifically will come into the effectiveness of my camera suggestion, which at this stage, from the articles I've read, appears to be quite effective in some Canterbury regions, is residents having private security cameras, being able to feed that to the police and convictions occur. So there are also other benefits in patrolling the streets, not only for the antisocial speeding behaviour, it can also assist with theft, loitering, all of that sort of stuff. So there's quite a few huge benefits. So we've looked at, I've also spoken to North Canterbury, Canterbury Christchurch North Patrol, Community Patrol. Their times are outside when we're having the most of our problems, so that's not effective. And the anti-hoon bars or the Omni Grip, the grippy surface, I spoke with Andrew about that as well, and they've done that in Christchurch and it hasn't been particularly effective. So unfortunately that has to go out. So I guess today is basically, does the council have any response or comments regarding to the camera installation idea? And secondly, the night watchman idea, a fund to have a couple of staff members on peak times to be able to monitor the system.
Yep. Right. Charlotte, is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We do have a bit of time for questions. Yes, Jason.
Thanks for coming in and raising that up. I have seen black marks down there, obviously, persistently for quite a long time. Whenever I go around the neighbourhood, would you be, in terms of where you're thinking good place for camera would that be in the freight yard or whatever that is there in that kind of land, or is there another property owner who would potentially be willing to, or is that still, have you been any conversations around anything like that? Yes.
I haven't had a conversation with Paul Taggart yet from Taggart's, but I know his family, so
Okay.
I will do. The other location is there is a park on the corner on the bottom right, and there's some nice big trees where you can actually put one up there potentially, but that's not our land. That will be, I think that's Swale, which is probably council as well. So that's the next question is this is the Belfast and Blake's Road intersection is the noisiest because they can get away quickly and that's the most persistent. But when you go to Exhibit 3A, Tyrone and 3rd Street intersection, so just a couple on. So this one, that's actually right in the middle of the street of residential homes. And that's where we can put, I've got one right on the corner in the bottom right, sorry. Again, who's actually quite happy to put one in his window. But he doesn't want to be identified because his windows will be smashed.
Yep. Fair enough.
And then Exhibit 3B, I've got a neighbour who's just the next one over. She's willing to put one on on a fence in that particular area to get that. But to be fair, those marks are about 18 months old. So the only issue she's got at the moment is that width of the entry to that side road. There's a lot of speeding going around that particular corner. So as far as protecting the residents, protecting their homes, I think we can rally and get them to be able to do that. But as far as the Belfast, I would appreciate some consideration for maybe putting one in the park and definitely approach Taggart's.
All right. Maybe a quick question, then and then we'll.
Whose cameras?
So
Because they've got to be quite high def because you've got to capture the number plate.
yes, so that's the next question. So I've got a friend at Code Blue who might be, I haven't gone to that sort of effort yet, but I do have a contact in the Belfast Community Trust who, so I could get private funding for that. But it also I need to talk to the police how we would monitor that. Perhaps the night watchman would coordinate the footage and forward it to the police. That logistics, if you've got an appetite for that, I can flesh that out and let you know how that's exactly going to look.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like, thank you, Charlotte, for your presentation. And conscious that you've made connection with the police constable as well. So I think it'd be good to hear what conversations come out of that. And also we can definitely get a response from council staff around some of those specific questions that you had before.
Okay.
So how about if you're already in touch with the team?
Yes.
So we can keep you in the loop with that. And also if you could let us know how the meeting goes with the constable.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to our next topic forum, we have Drusilla. Drusilla, would you like to come to the table? Yeah. Similar again with public forum, we're not in a position to make any decisions today.
Just information.
Yeah, no worries. And so it's 5 minutes, including questions.
Okay. This is actually 20 years' work, okay? I've been setting up film. We've finally made a decision. We're going into Green Moon Studios. We're actually going into Rolleston Ave, at corner of Rolleston and Hereford, because I've got access to the new Black Box Theatre. I've got access to an art room, and I've got access to the inside of the Christchurch Arts Centre as well. So we've got a play going in there 226. 225, I've got another play that will probably be going in the Black Box. July, the 6th, 7th and 8th of July, I've got a workshop of 2 kapa haka groups that maybe, I can't tell you where they're going, but it's a sports team that will be going overseas. And I've just written a song for them. We'll be recording it in August, and the target market's under 8. And I'll just let you know that we're singing it to a penguin. Okay, so I've got that going on. My thing is the Emergency Management Centre. I'll be doing the Environment Canterbury long-term plan and the Christchurch City Council long-term plan. I also did Round the World in 80 Days with the Commonwealth Games, did repertory and opera. And so I've been kind of lobbying that for 20 years. So we'll be waiting to see what happens. But aside from that, I've got 4 film projects, and one was with Terraceville. I did the workshop with Pip Hall down in Dunedin. And so if I was to ever get the funding for that, that would actually start in Christchurch, go all the way down the South Island, and then end up at a helicopter fight at Fox Glacier. So that's one film. I've got next year I'm going to London to go to, what's that, Lords. I've come up with an idea for a film. So what actually happens is the film picks you, you don't pick the film. And the other 2 that I've got are animation. I've got one that I've written, Santa's Lost Key, been working on that 8 years, and we're actually going to be doing a still photo shoot in the Kaipoi Arts, Kaipoi Library. I've got a meeting tomorrow with Dan Gordon. He allowed me to get his cat crocheted, cost me $120. I'm now chasing the Mayor of Selwyn to get a photo shoot with him with a owl, because that will represent the Selwyn district. So then we're doing the photo shoot, and then what will happen is 226, we're going to use real actors. Now, the thing with the Emergency Management Centre, I actually talked to somebody at the time of the terrorist attack. I was in Christchurch. I was in the centre of the town when that happened. I've been working in traffic management since 2014, all over town with the rebuild, with the stadium, and also I've just come off the 3rd tower. So my concern is health and safety and self of everybody. I've been all over the city, and what I looked at was Linwood. In the long-term plan, the Hornby Community Library will come up. What I'm looking at is if you had a centre base for the community for organising events, it has to be that you can, if it was for rail as well, which I pitched on, it has to be that you can use a helicopter, access to a helicopter, or how you're going to get places if our emergency services ever went down. So that's what I'm looking at. The Hornby site, the trouble with that is the traffic, but it is next to Wigwam. I am looking, why I've come to use is because I really like the fire station on Wairaki Road. Even though it's not rail, it would be a great facility, because it would mean we could also use it for storage. We could also have more community training events there. I've actually approached them. They haven't come back to me, but that would be a site. And also, if you had a major disaster or anything, you can get traffic. I did also look at the Redwood Fire Station, but then you can't get there by bus. So my thing is, if I can't get there from bus, how do other people get there? So that's why I'm here. It's just to keep you informed. And also too, we lost the toy museum. which I'm really devastated. I gave him my my Thunderbird dolls, Brain. I gave him a rocking horse. I gave him my 50-year Barbie doll. It's actually been sold to our competition, which is Wanaka. Wanaka Film Studio is actually going to be, as far as I know, American finance. So that's actually in the film industry. That's actually my competition. So now I'm actually starting up a toy museum. I had a look inside the art centre. We're going to use one room, and 225 will use that. I've got 30 Lord of the Ring dolls in my room. I've got a royal collection of dolls worth 4,000. So I think for Christchurch, the toy museum needs to be right in the centre. And that's what I'm target market on long term is to buy a $2 million building. The Dutch Deluxe is a $10 million project. I'm actually a cabinet maker, project management, so I'm well aware of what's required. So that's my pitch. Oh, and one more thing, I will be also, I've set up a mapping business. So this is all related to that. So once we have the Emergency Management Centre, 225, I'm going to roll out an emergency management map. And so that's my next goal. All right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Stella. Just an update just around the Wairaki Road Fire Station. I believe that has been returned to Ngāi Tahu. So just something to keep in mind about maybe why you haven't been able to hear back.
Well, there's also the commercial buildings across the road. It comes down to finance. And the thing is, at the moment, I'm open-minded about all this. It will happen. I've actually, my photocopying bill 2 years ago was 45,000. I've got 100 grand tied up in stock. I'm also a small investor in the old post office right in the centre town. I did the archives for the business centre, and I'm selecting all this art. All right, so what's actually happening is I go and buy what I think needs, and then he's going to give me shares. All right, and my son's going to be a barman then. So, and I come from Bishopdale in 1966, one of the first pupils of Cotswood School. So that area is quite, and my sister lives on Waimāero Ave, my son Barrington Ave. We've still got the house in Pardone Street. So I am a local. It's just a matter of now coming public, and I really want the council and everybody to come on board. It's about, we're losing our global share in our markets, whether it's film, songs or whatever. We all need to be working on the same page, and it's about our children's safety. All right?
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Priscilla, for your time. Oh, okay. I'm just going to check. Sam and Linda, can you both hear us?
Yep, certainly can. Yep.
Yes,
And
I
Linda?
can.
Okay, great. Sorry, just wanted to check. Okay, moving on to our next public forum, we have Water and Wildlife Habitat Trust. Mike. Kia ora, Mike.
Right. I've got a few slides, so I'm not sure how we're going to control those.
I can pop it up and then give him the look and he'll.
I can give them a look. Okay. So this is a really an information session to keep you guys informed of what's happening. We've got a reasonably exciting project between the Water and Wildlife Habitat Trust and WGA Consultants at this point. It's all about the Otukakino catchment and trying to preserve and make climate change resilient. The groundwater dependent wetlands, waterways and lakes that are primarily used for recreational use and enjoyment. Give us the next one. So our primary objective is really Te Mana Otiwai, which is healthy waterways landscapes. In this case, it's a catchment that's highly used for both providing social, environmental and cultural well-being for our community, as well as conserving our rare plants and animals. Next. Yeah, the Otukakino, as you're probably aware, is a pretty special catchment. It's bounded by the Waimāero River in the northwest side of urban Christchurch. It's a complex system of springs and wetlands and lakes and streams. It's quite a unique environment in itself, but importantly, it's the location for the groins and Rotorua-Hatu. Moving on. By comparison, the Otukakino catchment has good to fair ecological health in its waterways and lakes, which is the best in Christchurch. worth preserving. It has significant ecological values, a lot of rare and threatened plants and animals at a national scale. Its Mahinga Kai and Waitapu values for tangata whenua are significant in that catchment. And importantly, it's got facilities for open space recreation use and enjoyment. But it is under threat. We have a long-term decline in groundwater levels across the catchment. We've got a climate that's changing, which will produce longer, drier and low-flow summers. We've got weed and pest infestation, pollution loads, producing pathogens and toxic algal blooms, particularly in summer when people are using it. Next. Of interest to you guys might be the Groins Regional Park. That's an excellent water wonderland, highly used for open space recreation and use. But it's in the middle of the Otakaikina and it's under those threats. Moving on. The other major water body is obviously the Lake of Rotorua and the reserves there. It's a growing popular spot for the community of Christchurch for a range of water-based activities, highly valuable for the community. Moving on. Our project proposal is basically putting together a collaborative partnership, including the major landowners, in this case, the Christchurch Airport, a major new landowner in the catchment, and obviously the major government bodies and the QET Trust and hopefully Isaac's Conservation and Wildlife Trust as well. We'll move through a feasibility report stage where we look at the options for managing surface and groundwaters, and then we set those out for the favourable options and move towards the funding and implementation. So it's a long bit of a journey, a longer term proposition. Moving on. Fundamental to the project as a guiding principle is using our natural-based solutions. So using the natural systems of wetlands and waterways and springs, enhancing those and augmenting them, basically to provide a greater water supply to those surface water bodies, streams and lakes. Again. So fundamentally, we're going to have a crack at propositions that will try to slow the water in the catchment down, surface and groundwater, keep it there longer so it permeates through the landscape and feeds our springs and waterways. There may be sort of, using infiltration ponds to augment groundwater for storage and treatment ponds, effectively sediment ponds, riparian channels and wetlands used to treat water and to hold water through the drier periods. It's effectively managing in a more consistent way our water sources to maintain the resilience and future proofing of our streams and wetlands and lakes. Moving on. This is just a shot of, we're fortunate in partnering the Waterways Centre at the University of Canterbury last year, and there's a low-level remote sensing grid flight was done of the catchment. This is just one of the interpretations of the data. It's a digital elevation model, but what it basically provides is a highly valuable planning tool for working out those options and looking in a much higher detail at the landscape and what we can do with it to enhance it. Again. The concept stage is effectively gathering all the information and partners and the expertise and developing those options for restoring and enhancing our wetlands that exist and potentially building some new ones and augmenting our groundwater supplies. They'll go through a sort of feasibility options stage. We'll report back and involve our key stakeholders and partners to develop the preferred options that we can move to feasibility and obviously costing and funding. Moving on again. So the main reason for coming here is really just to inform you that this proposition is on the table. We have briefed the City Council of this proposition. They gave us some indication they refer it to the officers for further consideration. We basically want to deal with adapting to climate change, which is threatening the values of that catchment, and create more healthy waterways and sustain and if not enhance the recreational use and enjoyment facilities that are in that catchment. So I'd say we hope to keep you informed of that process as we move forward, and then maybe in the future we can give you more detailed proposition that you may formally make a decision to support.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mike. I don't think we have any time for questions, unless someone has just one burning question for Mike. No? Otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for all your work on this. It's amazing. And yeah, definitely keep us in the loop with how things progress with the project.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, and now we have our next deputation, which is for the Elmwood Park Bowling Club, and we have Neil Johnson, the club president. Oh, sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
I've got Neil Johnson.
well, you're welcome to both come to the table if you want.
I'm here today, with, in a sense, with some regrets, because we didn't want to come here. We tried to resolve this issue by lengthy discussions with council officers, and in fact, via our solicitors, and it may surprise you, we've actually spent several $1,000s trying to resolve the issues, and as has your council on our side, solicitors Buddle Finley. But basically, our club, just to fill you in with some background, as most of you know, we have two grounds. We have one ground which is part of Elmwood Park itself, and we've agreed all the terms for that lease. So there's no argument about that. And I raise the question as why we haven't had that signed before now. We can't find out from council officers why that is the case. I suspect it may be some misguided apprehension that they can withhold signature to that to persuade us to what's an issue. Well, what's an issue? What's an issue is a variation to our perpetual license, our 1949 license for the clubroom site. I know the chair, Mr. Goff and Mr. McDonald, are very familiar with that because that clubrooms, because they came to assist us with the opening, and thanks for that. This is a license which in fact can't be varied without our consent. What happened was in June 2021, council gave us consent to put the building up, but purported to impose conditions, which we've got clear legal opinion that they couldn't do so. Despite that, we wish to get on with the council, and we've agreed to a number of things we didn't have to agree. Just by way of illustration, it may surprise you, there was no provision at all for varying the amount of rent we pay for that number one ground, as we call it, the clubroom site, $19 per annum. And we've now agreed to be treated more or less the same as all other clubs. So we're not being unreasonable. Well, the point really of being here today is to please have the council officers treat us like all other clubs. We have researched quite in detail the leases that have been granted to sports clubs in Christchurch, and they all contain a simple clause, promote or enhance the club's activities. But for some reason, the council officers won't agree to keep it simple. And it's slightly absurd because we've agreed the terms for the lease for the Elmwood Park, as I said, which should be signed. And that contains that simple clause without any elaboration at all. If you turn to your papers at page 14, you'll see on 15, page 15, there's set out the council's policy, which is set out in a letter of Felix Donnelly 6 years ago, one of the council officers. And you'll see, as I say at the bottom there, that policy is encapsulated in this clause, which is the clause we want, the same as other sports clubs. Such hiring is either for the permitted use or promotes and or enhances the permitted use. Turn the page. Page 16, if you'd all turn to page 16, you'll see there is a clause little a, which reads, such hiring is for short periods only or otherwise has the written consent of the licensor. There you see an ambiguous clause, it's that one. And that's the reason I suspect that subclause does not appear in any other sports club lease we've been able to find. And we want that clause deleted. Go to subparagraph D, same place, you'll see a bit underlined in red. It's got a bit blocked because of the red, but what it reads, the red bit, after the permitted use promotes and or enhances the permitted use, and it reads or otherwise has the written consent of the licensee, in other words, the council. That red bit does not appear in any lease we've been able to find. So all we're saying is treat us the same as anybody else. We don't want to be going to council about ambiguous clauses asking for their consent, for example, to hire out our club rooms, as in fact we do, to a genealogical society. I mean, that's utterly absurd.
I know from a local school, they would like to use it for off-site meetings for teachers. Why should we have to go to the council? No other club would have to get their consent. And I can tell you this, our neighbours, the cricket club and the tennis club, have the self-same clause without elaboration that we're seeking. And bearing in mind, I estimate the council has spent on outside solicitors $3,000 to $4,000 arguing over this. It is a complete waste of ratepayers' money. It's a waste of our money. How do I know they've spent that? I won't tell you the exact sum because it's confidential, but it's pretty close to that. So that's why, with regret, we're here and we say, why can't we, without going to the council, under that promote and enhance our activities, fundraising, if you like, hire out our place without going to the council? I say this, I'm surprised we haven't got a council officer's report here today. They've had this submission, which you've got, pages 14 to 19, since the middle of December. And there's no explanation given by a council officer as to why they haven't responded to that. They've known about this argument going back to, wait for it, February last year. We saw Mr. Andrew Rutledge, who was Director of Parks. I know he's changed positions since, gave him the same argument, and he came back with this, which was a record of really what we've been told before. So, insofar as you have persuasion over council officers, would you ask them, please, to treat us like everybody else in this town, every other sports club? We've got a collection of about eight leases where they've got this clause. And why should this clause be any different from next door neighbour? Just imagine this silly situation. From time to time, bowling greens do get affected by various diseases. And it may be the club room's site is not available. We could go and use the next door one, the one we've agreed the terms of lease for in Elmwood Park, and just go right ahead and have the function there, if there was any doubt about it. But there was ambiguity about how to use the clubroom site. So to sum up, we've got clear legal advice that we don't have to agree to anything, but we want to be cooperative with council. As I said, the $19 will become probably $800 or $1,000 or whatever it is a year for the clubroom site. And please, council officers, just treat us like anybody else. That's why I was saying, Mr. Johnson and I didn't want to be here today, but we don't seem to be able to move council officers. So if you could give them a direction saying, you know, treat them like anybody else, have that clause that will promote and enhance the activities without the red bit in Mr. Rutledge's memo, and then we'll be able to, without fear or favour, be able to go to the Genealogical Society, go to a Rotary Club, go to the school and say, yes, we're available. And please sign the lease.
So Chris and Neil, thank you for the public forum coming along today. Appreciate that you didn't want to be here, but it is helpful for us to hear your perspective. So as mentioned at the start of public forum, we're not in a position to make any decision, but we do have your item coming up for correspondence. Is it item 7, I believe? Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have time for questions, I'm afraid, but you're welcome to stay in the gallery when we get to item 7, when we talk about the correspondence that we've got in our agenda.
Thank you. Thank you
so much. Thank you. Okay, so those are public forum. We'll now move to item 5, deputations by appointment, which there were none. And then item 6, presentation of petitions. There weren't any either, which takes us to item 7, correspondence with the Elmwood Bowling Club. So everyone should have seen the correspondence that had come through. And we've also just heard further information and background and context in public forum as well. So we can ask questions around, can we ask questions around correspondence here? Or is this, well, I guess, is there any specific questions around the correspondence that we've got here in front of us? Yeah, James?
Yeah, like, well, I don't know, it's with your lead, was like, it could maybe even be useful for the representatives from the club to be able to answer it potentially, but I think it just follows on from, what I think we will agree that, you know, ambiguous clauses are not really that helpful, but, you know, is there sort of a response around that? And if they're ambiguous, I guess it would be equally ambiguous for council. So I'd just be interested in hearing a little bit more around that. But I don't know, it depends who's answering the questions, because I don't imagine you'll probably wonder the same things as I am. So ask me amongst ourselves, probably doesn't satisfy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Anything else that, any other specific questions to do with the correspondence that we've got in front of us today?
No, I think it's pretty clear, but
Yeah.
it's just the usual questions.
Yeah.
Just, because, you know, we obviously want to help,
Yeah.
you know, the club be as successful as possible. They have neighbours, which they are, you know, have to maintain a relationship. We just want to find that balance, but to be able to assist them to flourish, really.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's not the best forum then now.
Yeah. I, no, that makes perfect sense, James. From the, before, in public forum, it was mentioned that this has been something going on since February of last year. So there's a lot of correspondence to get through, and also just to make sure that this is something that we are fully aware of, and we've got all the detail and understanding. So I think it makes sense for us to ask staff to produce a report. So we've got all of that information, so we know what needs to happen for this to move forward. Supporting what you just said there, James. So do we need a
Happy to move.
Yeah. Aidan's got he's typing up a resolution for us under this item. Do you want to show it on the screen? Is that all right?
I will.
Cool. Sorry, you're doing two things at once. Okay, here we are. I want to read this, and feel free to ask any questions, or if someone's comfortable to move it. Yep, okay.
Oh, was there maybe one other question?
Yep.
Is it worth raising any questions at the report around whether the other lease can be independently, as discussed in some of that information, whether the other lease has to be attached to that or not? Is that a question that we should? I think that would be answered in the report. That will be, yeah.
Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. Is there someone, has this been moved already? This was
Yeah,
moved, wasn't it? You moved it?
Yeah.
So Jason to move and Aaron to second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried, okay. All right, so thank you so much for coming along. Yeah, we appreciate your presence and time. So, but you're welcome to welcome to later. Don't stay.
One of these days you'll have an off-site meeting.
So, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 8 for staff report. We have the bus stop on Carter Mill Road. So, was yours?
Yes.
Yes, you would like to come and present to us. Thank you.
Good evening. My today report is about the bus stop on Cantor Mill Road, which its origin is for port-to-port route review, that we reviewed all the bus stop line port-to-port route. And if you agree, I just briefly present the logic behind each proposed bus stop upgrade. For the one in front of number 55, the current bus stop is only a sign and a seat, which basically it doesn't meet the minimum standards which we need, including the line marking. So we are adding line marking, a tactile paper for blind and low vision people, and a seat. And we are also getting it closer to the intersection to integrate the parking loops, which we need after the bus box, with those that we already have from the existence of the intersection, which means we actually with this, we are minimizing the parking loops in this location. For the other bus stop, the one in front of, which is currently in front of number 16, it has 3 issues. 2 are major, 1 is minor. The major ones is that we don't have any parking restriction after the bus box, and vehicles park just after the bus box, which doesn't allow the bus to safely pull out. And maybe the most important one is the existence of the cut down where the bus front door is. And these challenge the accessibility for children, old people, and disabled people, which are the categories which are more dependent on public transport. And the minor one is the existence of that power pole. Here, to improve these bus stop, which I consider the major ones that they need, those that must be resolved. We had 2 options, just upgrading the bus stop at its current location, which was adding a few meters of line marking after the bus box, and providing the curbs on that cut down. And the other option was just relocating it, which we consider different options. The best option for relocation is in front of number 18, as it was proposed. And then we considered both options from the cost perspective. The current option that we are proposing in front of number 18 is cost us about 5,500, something like that. While if we wanted to upgrade this bus stop at this current location, it will cost us about 10,500 or 11,000. And this is because the providing the curbing happens on site, and it requires too many traffic management hours. This is why upgrading the bus stop in current location is an expensive option. So because of that, our preferred option is to relocate that bus stop in front of number 18. So these are the logics behind the proposed options. And we also have run, I think, a very active consultation. We have a good number of submissions. For the one in front of 55, we had different meetings. We met also people on site, calls, and they had some concerns initially in the initial consultation plan that we covered those concerns. And we had 1 submissions totally against, and once we provided the answer to those, we haven't received back from those submitters. For the one in front of number 18, we have received 14 submissions, 7 in support, 7 in against of the proposed relocation. The reason that most of those against were in common was losing on-street parking, I think, which in this case, what we are losing is 2 spaces. We actually lose 4 spaces in front of number 18, but we are adding 2 spaces in the current location. So in total, we are losing 2 on-street parking, which I think is not a big number in that street where we have lots of on-street parking spaces. So yes, that was it.
All right. Thank you, Angela. So are there any questions for staff with the report in front of us? Yes, Aaron.
I have a couple. Are you looking on the whole road or just this part here?
You in the port report?
Yes.
So most of the cases has been done or constructed completely.
Yeah.
There are a few more cases that handling those cases.
And so with the rebranding and the route additions and the advertising and all the money spent on the extra bus stops and stuff, what's the payback been? What's the increase in ridership so far?
So we generally in 2023, we have had a good increase, which is a very good news. And we are getting closer to the patronage that we had before COVID-19, which is, I think it's a very good news. But to be honest, because what happened along that route is that frequency increased, and also we reviewed and upgraded those bus stops. So all those increased are outcomes of these two together. So,
do we get a numbers update? Does it go from like, 300 a day to 350 or whatever?
Yeah. I had the number for the total over the city, but I haven't investigated that for this specific route yet.
But it's always good if we can see what we're voting on is making a difference or not.
Sure.
And then the other part of that route, it's not related to the decision today, but is on the other side of Johns Road.
Which road, sorry?
Johns Road, at the airport end.
Yes.
So I put through a notice of motion before Christmas, but it got bounced back because that's airport land. Have you got an update on, is it people are crossing the road, Johns Road, motorway, 2 lanes in each direction with suitcases, not using the underpass because don't know it's there or too scared or whatever. So they run across the road with suitcases, but there's no bus stop.
Yes. What happened for that specific case was that we initially proposed 2 bus stops there, and then for one of them, airport would disagree with the proposed design, saying that this is not enough in terms of providing a 3.2 traffic lane. So they asked us to change the proposed layout, and we did it, which turns it out to be a very expensive, actually, bus stop. And after that, we have followed multiple times, but we haven't received back from the airport. It seems that they have an internal process to approve that, which I'm not aware of that process that they have.
No, that's okay. It's for another.
It's only like 3,000 staff in the area that can't catch the bus for such a green airport. It's interesting.
Well, I saw James, you had a question.
Yeah, thanks for that. And thank you for your work with us. Just stop me if I'm getting any of this wrong, but from what I understand, the bus stop at 16, 358, which is the north one, it almost seems like it's been a little less contentious now. You've been with residents, there's a shelter wouldn't then go ahead as a result of that. 1 for, 1 against. The south one, which is I think the 10, sorry, forgive me for not knowing.
10,948.
Which is the south one. That one seems to be a little bit more niggly, that there are more people that have responded to that. I think there might be one more person that's not in favour of that. One of the disadvantages with the south changes, or most south changes, is that it could retain a risk of a bus colliding with a power pole. Yeah, I'm just quite keen to know how real that risk is, or how many instances has it occurred in the past, or is it problematic, or is it just a possibility?
All right, so I'll go through one by one. Regarding the number of submissions, in the report, we said 7 objection and 6 support, but then we noticed that we missed one of the support. So I think I forwarded that support to the committee board advisor. About the issue, so yeah, that's the truth. The power pole is the minor issues that we have had here. And no, I have checked the records. We haven't had any record of saying that the bus is hitting the power pole. But even we haven't had the record of someone complaining about the cut down, but this is a minimum standard requirement. What happens actually is that, let me explain it for the people on wheelchair. So when people on wheelchair are using that ramp from the bus, so bus height, it's normally around 280 millimeters when the bus kneel. and we should have a curve of 150 millimeter. That makes a maximum gradient of 12.5 percentages for the ramp. So that's what is recommended. So the people on wheelchair can easily get into the bus. But even so, from the accessibility reference group of ECAN, we have here that even that's too much. So what will happen when we don't have a curve? That gradient will be increased more than 30 percentages. I haven't measured for this specific, which I'm pretty sure which more than 30 percentages, but we did some empirical investigation when we were doing the Linwood bus stop upgrades. So we went out with some surveyors and cameras and a bus kneeling on different curbs. And this is the worst case scenario for disabled people that might happen when we don't have a curb. So yes, that's true. The power pole is not a major issue there, it's a minor issue. The major issue which has to be resolved, which is actually a safety issue, is the cut down. So these bus stops need to be upgraded either at its current location or in a new location.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, Aaron.
How many people in wheelchairs are we getting on buses?
Oh, which buses?
Any?
Oh,
Or
okay.
these ones specifically. Like, do we do the work because there's someone in the area that's in a chair? Or do we do it just so anyone in a chair can get on or off anywhere?
Yes, I think the second approach is the approach that we have. For the bus stop in front of 55, we have averagely around 5 or 6 people every day.
In a wheelchair?
No, totally. No. We don't have any like classification like that how many on wheelchair. So totally. And 1 passenger on average we have in the other bus stop, but we normally don't have that bus stop. That data that is classified in.
And across the city of all our bus stops, how many are wheelchair accessible and how many are not?
No, we haven't had this investigation yet, because normally what we do in the operation is that we have a very limited budget, so we are more reactive.
Right.
But in terms of, has it happened before that people on wheelchair complained about this in other locations? Yes. A couple of them are my current projects, which I'm working on them.
And so do we have a ramp or something? Yes.
Pardon?
Do we put out an aluminium ramp or something? What's the process?
Oh, no, the ramp is on buses. So in the front door of bus, when you step in, there is a ramp that whenever people on wheelchair is there, so they can firstly for the bus to kneel, and then the bus driver comes and bring out that ramp,
right,
put it there, and
so that works anywhere.
Currently in the city, not as perfectly as it's wanted in the NZTA standard, because we don't have 115 millimeters curbs in all the bus stops in the city. But what's happening is that in any case that we are upgrading, we try to minimize this. Right. And this is the reasoning. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, David.
Maybe slightly out of this, but further down the road in Exeter Street, Calvin Mill, we had a deputation here last year around sort of bottlenecking of people coming out of that Merivale area and residents of the city trying to turn right into there by the foot flower shop. As part of this project, are the buses sort of getting, because you've sort of got that 1 lane then going into 2 lanes sort of situation. Have we looked at the traffic flow of the bus a little bit further down the road and how we might be able to facilitate it getting a little bit better? Maybe potentially putting some road markings or hash lines on the intersection there to create better movement of cars?
For that specific location, no, I haven't been involved in that. Yeah, one other point can I mention?
Yeah.
About the proposed locations in front of the number 18. The other thing, which could be a plus, and those submitters in favor of that have mentioned, is that it can improve their safety when exiting the number 18, which it wasn't an intention for us, but it's just a plus, just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Okay. So can I ask, so in the report got ahead, got two different bus stops, right?
Yes.
The one, oh gosh, what is the number? It's 10948. North south, so this is the south one. The south one, so while there's always the option to do nothing, so hypothetically, we could move one of the bus stops, the one on the north, to happen, the one on the south side to stay where it is. But are you suggesting that we would have to address the curb issue, that it would have to be lifted?
It is a minimalist.
So we would have to do that. So there isn't really a do nothing. It is a do a little bit.
To me, a do nothing option means waiting until an old bus user or a kid or a people on wheelchair got injured.
So how is it working so far? Because like that bus stop is already
So I think it's an outbound case. So we have a low patronage here, and we have been lucky. So it might happen tomorrow or the day after, but this is a safety concern. And we have had the things that motivate us to consider this recommendation is that sometimes some of the recommendations are something additional, like adding a rubbish bin at the bus stop, right? So it's like an additional, we just don't install it, a rubbish bin at the bus. But there are some requirements which are minimum standard, like the line marking. Like, for example, for the line marking that I'm proposing for the one on the north side, we even haven't had any requests up to now. Until recently, I mean, we did the report, all the report was done, and we recently received a ticket from community that we cannot get into bus, people parks there, and so on. So yes, that's true. We haven't had a complaint from the community, but it's a minimum requirement. So that's.
Yes, Aaron.
But if you do nothing, how does the minimum requirement get triggered when there'll be thousands of bus stops that are below the minimum requirement? But we don't do them because we're not doing anything there.
So we, in our position, in which is operational, we have a limited budget. But the PT future that the business case was going on was actually for that, to improve all those, part of actually the PT future was that to improve all those minimum aspects in the PT infrastructure that we have. So I think it's about when it happens.
Yeah, when it happens. But if that option's to not do anything on the south side, then it's not triggered.
So no, it's not. But the thing is that we have had a project that called route review, and we had a budget for this, and we have done all the bus stops along that route. So that's why we are working on these bus stops. So, yeah.
I think, sorry, any other questions? No, I think what's also helpful is, so we've got a situation where we've got buses, we push it to one side, it upsets those residents, push it to another side, it upsets those residents. But it sounds like something has to happen for those who take the bus, but we don't know yet whether those people who do take the bus need the curb to be lifted yet, as in there hasn't been a complaint yet that has happened. That you're saying?
That's true. That's a fact that no complaint hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But to upgrade that bus stop, we don't need a complaint. Some of the upgrades are minimum standard.
Okay.
When we do the review,
So-
that's what I mean, yeah.
Right, so again, we have to make a move today that at the very least lifts the curb.
No, I don't believe so. I can't see how, if you're not doing anything there, that you have to do that, other than the only action on it is that it's in a report, and that work's been done, but I'm a fan of numbers, and I'd love to know in the PPP Futures Plan, did we go out to the disability community and ask them what they wanted it? Did they say, look, every single bus stop as soon as you can, or we'll give you a list of all the ones where people live and go, do all these ones first? Did we at least have that conversation? So I know in the
No,
past
that-
we hadn't, and Philip Haseman Plates would come in and ask multiple times for certain bus stops to be done because they were high disability users. We would ignore those and go do a whole lot of others where there's no one disabled catching the bus, and they'd get quite frustrated, but we would have changed that by now, haven't we?
No, I'm not aware that there is an investigation like this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So we
but-
could be wasting $4,500, could be needed 3 bus stops down, but there's no plan in at the moment, but there's a kid in a wheelchair there that can't catch the bus now.
Yeah.
We don't know, and that's a frustration because the money's limited.
Yes, that's true.
James, you had a question.
Thank you, and you make a really compelling case around this because, you know, no one wants to make something less safe. But just so I'm really clear on this, in the event, hypothetically, if the board chose the status quo and didn't resolve to move the bus stop on the south side, would that trigger a requirement to spend that $4,500 to raise the curb, or is that not the case? Just so I'm clear on what the implications of that. I do understand it's not compliant with the minimum guidelines, but would that then trigger a capex of $4,500 to raise the curb as a result of it, or not?
Sorry, I don't get what you
So
mean.
just saying, if the south bus stop was left,
Yes.
it doesn't comply with the minimum guidelines, which would require the curb to be lifted up. In the event that the bus stop was not moved, would that then trigger a capital expenditure of $4,500 to go ahead and to raise that curb, or is that not what happens?
So I didn't get the last part, the trigger. What do you mean exactly?
Probably explain it badly, but in the event that the bus stop wasn't moved on the south side, accepting that it wouldn't meet minimum guidelines, would the council then be required to spend $4,500 to do that, to raise the curbs? Does that then happen, or does it just remain a non-compliant?
No, I think it's not a must to spend that money. So no, it will be spent like.
Sorry, it's not meant as like a loaded question. I just want to be very clear on what the next step is from.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go for
I
it.
just want to ask one thing, sorry, I can't quite remember. What's the distance between the next bus stop? Is it 1 kilometre? Is that what was 400 metres?
Which buses?
I mean, between, this bus stop and the second, what's the distance between?
The desired one?
Yeah, yes.
The desired one is 400 meters.
400, and what have we got on the street?
So we are talking about the south.
Yes.
South one. For the south one, with the next bus stop toward the west is 305 meters.
Okay.
And with the one toward the east is 270 meters.
Yeah.
And a follow-up question, are they compliant?
Yes.
Pardon?
Have they got the curb?
I think they have at least a curb.
Okay, interesting.
So, the thing is that we are not proposing to have to increase a 100 millimeter curve to 150 millimeter, which is recommended. We are recommending to turn a 0 millimeter.
I understand, but the 2 bus stops on either side of the south side have got curbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you so much for answering my question. This has gone into this. Really, we're really,
Can I propose a motion, everyone?
Oh, we're still going through it, so you.
I need to sit.
Yeah.
I just like to propose is just just based off the information we heard around the residents' information and the safety and the other bus stops either side, et cetera, the 16358, which is the 55 Culpamore Road, that we moved that one, and just with the balance of safety and then obviously the residents' views and knowing that the bus stops on either side are in of a better condition, I'd just like to move that we do nothing with the 10948.
So that's just for clarity, that's to accept the staff recommendation for the north one and the south one, it's just as is.
Correct.
All right. Second that, okay. Do we need to put that up on the board for us to review?
Seems like, yeah, that's the second.
Yeah, okay.
Bus stop. Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Just, would that prohibit anything that if then this did become problematic, if we were receiving complaints, would this prohibit us from revisiting it?
South side.
Yes.
You mean over the height?
Yeah, no, or the relocation, either or, just the matter itself, like if
Come back again.
yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily prohibit it, so like we.
Like, if someone come in next week and said, don't like your decision, we immobile and need the height there, happy that we do it ASAP, but we should be finding out where the need is and delivering on the need while there's a shortage of money.
Yes, my
rather
question.
than
There's obviously, a motion there or an amendment, but I just wanted to be clear that if something did become problematic, the work that's been done, or that hasn't necessarily been lost, we could revisit it as a board.
Absolutely. And if someone comes to us in the next couple of months and says they need a height raised one down their street, we've saved $4.5 grand here, we can flip to there and get it done. Just if you had a household where you balanced your book.
I like your logic.
All right. No, that's great. Good question, James. So we've got it on the, we haven't got it up here, but do you want to maybe just show it just in case they didn't get it right? Then we can see it. So that was Jason to move, Aaron to second.
So it's put a strike through those ones.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, carried. Great. All right. Thank you so much for all your work on this. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to, oh my gosh, where are we up to? I'm item 9, the better off funding with Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming everybody's read the report. So if you've got any questions, basically it's a project of 2 parts. One is the Inglefield Reserve, which will be done with Belfast residents and the Northwood Residents Association, having a little advisory group that will help us draft something to take to the wider community. So there'll be some great engagement, and what will be built will be whatever they're asking for within their budget. It's a chicken and egg thing. We need a budget to be able to actually plan what we can build. So that's why we've asked for that. And the other one is about creating closer networks in the community and engagement processes and getting something done that it looks like we realistically won't be able to get done and under the appropriate council budget, because it's not, it's competing with safety issues. So, yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On that.
Thank you, Natalie. Well, I'm happy to move.
Happy to see.
Thanks, David. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, carried. And then you're here for item 10 for the discretionary response fund applications.
Nothing to add there to the report.
Nothing to add?
No.
Yeah? Well, I'll just double check. Have you guys got any questions for item 10 for Natalie? Okay.
That's great.
Right, David to move and Nicola to second. All those in favour say aye. Any against? No, carried. Which takes us to, thank you so much, Natalie. Takes us,
So, Mr. Chair, can I just, sorry, because we don't really do talk debate here, but that $660 that we approved to Belfast School, that's the best $660 we will spend this year. That there gets us the best return across our entire area as short-term and long-term, like that pays dividends forever because it changes kids' lives who become great leaders and it's changed at school. So I've said it before, but just reboiling the cabbage
That's good. Thanks, Aaron.
because it's a good cabbage.
Yes.
It's a good cabbage.
Yep.
All right, so item 11, the Youth Development Fund top-up.
Thank you. This is just a report for the board to consider topping up their youth development fund from the DRF as we are nearly exhausted and we will be exhausted to approve the next reports that are coming up as well. So we are recommending another $5,000.
It looks great. I'm happy to.
Yeah. Yep. All right, James and David. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. Cool. And then you again, Lisa, for item 12, the Youth Development Fund applications.
Yes, 3 fairly straightforward youth development applications. We have 1 group application there, and we also have 2 single applications. The 2 single applications are quite expensive trips that the young people are going on, and something a little bit different. We've got ice hockey championships and also the Irish dancing. Yeah. Any questions with those?
Is there no questions? No? All right. We have a mover and seconder. David to move. Jason to second. All those in favour say aye. Any against? No, carried. Now, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you for all your work. And then on to item 13 for the Community Board Area Report with Mary Ann.
Thank you. I'm happy to take the report as read. You'll notice that there are a couple of things we were reporting on with the timing that have actually happened since the report deadline closed. So we'll report back to you on how those went at the next meeting. And the other main thing is to remind you all about Culture Galore this weekend. See you there.
Is it done? With the, what's it like the?
Is it Saturday or Sunday?
It's Saturday.
And Sunday's is it a holdover or not? The weather?
No.
So is it, because of all the food, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Exciting. Yeah? Fantastic. All right. Awesome. Any questions for Mary Ann for the board area report? No? Okay. Well then, if there's a mover and a seconder. Thank you, David. Nicola to second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, carried, which takes us to the last item for the number 14, elected members information exchange.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yep.
All good. I probably just need to touch on, as everyone would have had a minor coronary, they saw, in relation to breach the 17 million thereabouts. And we obviously have that as one of our priorities. Just wanting to give you a heads up that the Mayor and Deputy Mayor have got a long-term plan to establish a new capital fund of 20 million per year for addressing and resolving surface flooding issues and at sites identified against a priority matrix. So they'll be looking at around like 2027 potentially that will begin. But obviously it's important to us, but there's a lot of other similar issues around the city. So I just think that I put forward regionally have to feed into that, but there's probably about 4 or 5 other ones that also go with that. But that would basically mean that the issue is not dead in the water. That there would be a mechanism or a process around prioritising that. But it also gives us time too, because I've spoken with our hands-on mayor, Phil, who doesn't have or has a few question marks around that price and has some novel ideas himself, which is great. So I think we should harness that enthusiasm for the area and for such a solution and kind of work with staff between now and then too to try and get some practical solutions because, simply I just don't accept that that we just $17 million is required to do. There's got to be some other solutions there. It is really important, but let's explore a whole range of issues. So this kind of keeps it alive, and just wanted to bring it to your attention that that's an amendment.
Okay, thank you. No,
and the mayor's solution is beyond a novel idea. It's a proven engineering solution.
Exactly.
Just retrofitting a pressure pipe inside a existing pipe. That would be quarter of the price. or less.
But this is obviously the appropriate form to say that this.
But that's
this is
fantastic.
something we're going to be talking about a lot.
Yeah.
Having something that can be done to ensure that we can get a solution for this.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for the update, James.
Just a question on that one. Is the mayor's potential solution, or are there any potential temporary measures we can use to mitigate that in the short term between when we might be able to actually get our funding and whatever plan we have allocated, or is it just the case?
I don't know. I'd like to think so. Obviously, this is a really big issue to us, but you've got every other community board in the city that has also got issues that they consider, flooding issues that are important to them. So I think would have to be, put up against those as well. I'll go into that for sure, as for all of us, but I think you've got to give it a fair shot to be compared with other of the surface flooding issues around the city.
Fight with the other councillors.
All right, any other elected members of information exchange? Yeah, we'll go to you, Aaron.
Yeah, something popped up the other day on the Bishopdale page, Johns Road, and getting the maintenance done there at the roundabout by Clearwater. And I was going to raise it here tonight, but Jason's already gone out and fixed it himself and cleared up all the stones and that at the corner. So good on Jason for doing that. But getting stuff done on the state highway is an issue. Do we bring that to you guys or opposite the ceiling?
Through Wigan.
Through,
It's local. It's
even though it's NZTA and on that road?
we can chase that.
Still do it? Okay, cool. And then there's the other one that I sent through, Aidan Reed, the scalping, I think they called it, on the side of the roads up around Ryan's Road and stuff, up in that part in our patch. So
Yeah, so we've got a maintenance manager's going to go out and have a look and
can come back to us with whether the contractor did what they're asked or did something completely different, which is what's claimed by the resident. Cool, thank you.
My one was just that I was actually down at Nepal Reserve with a family last week, and the grass around the bike track there is like a metre high.
It's for hiding
and it's real dry. So I've raised a ticket with staff around that, but yeah, that wouldn't take much. So I'll pop down there another week or so, but that's one that really needs to, and obviously they can't mow it because it needs a weed whacker or someone in there to do it in that way, but it's pretty bad. And it would only take a kid with a lighter to probably set what park on.
Was it like that?
Yeah, it was. So I went to the tremendous barbecue at Nepal Reserve, but that was really fantastic because there were they had a lot of people turn up, a lot of neighbours turn up to give their feedback, and there was quite a number of neighbours that sort of raised concerns about that area by the pump pump tracks. It's been like that for, I think, a wee while. So it was great to see that, and I think Karen and the team are to be commended for putting on such a great event. It was really good to see positive feedback happening and people really happy to be involved in the process and actually, not getting anything written. It was all, they were all there and felt like they were a part of it, and that it was people, not everyone agreed on Bruce's proposal for, the park, but there was lots of great, robust discussion. So I think it was a really good community event, and that was absolutely fantastic. And that was definitely brought up. So
was staff there? Was staff,
yes,
could a parks team, so they know about it?
Engagement team, the parks of the engagement team. There was 2 or 3 people from parks there, I think, and then there was it was fantastic, and the big fire. Actually, it was a park. There was a event that had a barbecue, so heaps of people turned up, a really wide range of people. And considering the time of day, what people were during the day, but it was pretty good. Yeah. So hopefully something will be done.
I'll go and check it out this weekend or something coming and see if it's been dealt with.
I think people.
You can barely even run on the pump track at the moment. The grass is too long.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's a shame.
Not a bad one.
Anything else? No.
Oh, I just raised one last thing, so I'll probably put it on Facebook, is the so far Wheels to Wings has spent $4.2 million and not delivered anything. So to avoid spending $1.5 million on a set of traffic lights if they weren't co-funded by NZTA, we've spent $4.5 million on $4.2 million on drawings.
Is that shared government funding for cycleways is,
Council, so.
oh, yeah, no, but is the shared funding, is that up in the air at the moment?
Oh, going forward.
Yeah.
No confirmation because we haven't got a national policy statement out of the government, which is we're expected to get at the end of March.
Okay. Just two things from me. One is Unity Under the Sun, which was the first event that was put together with the Brynwood community, and wanted to say a huge thanks to Karen for putting that together. Awesome event. And also the Sticks oh my gosh, I can't say the word, Laboratory Trust. Am I saying it right? Yeah.
It's living the.
Sticks Living Laboratory Trust. The tour was amazing. And so they've got an event on the 25th of February, Summer at the Sticks, because we now take up quite a bit of that area.
Bring the kids, James, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If there's nothing else, Linda, have you got anything?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, let's stand for our final karakia. We'll just have it on the slide soon.
Te tinana, te wairua, I te ara takata. Hoiara e rongo, whakakairia ake ki runga. Kia tina, uia, taite.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll officially close the first meeting of the year.